The Galactic Council chambers fell silent as Ambassador Riza stepped forward, her human form casting long shadows under the crystal lighting. The assembled representatives from dozens of species shifted uncomfortably in their bioadaptive seats, mandibles clicking, tentacles writhing, and synthetic vocal processors humming with nervous energy. "You summoned me here to explain humanity's actions during the Kthavar incursion," Riza said, her voice carrying across the vast amphitheater without amplification. "I assume you want to understand how a species you classified as primitively aggressive managed to turn the tide of a war that had consumed 3 galactic arms for over 2 centuries. Zephyrian Prime Minister, his crystalline form refracting light in agitated patterns, spoke first. "Ambassador Riza, your species was not even warp-capable when we first catalogued Earth. We placed inhibitor satellites around your solar system for the galaxy's protection. How did humans not only bypass our containment, but arrive at the Kthavar homeworld before our own reinforcement fleets?" Riza smiled, a gesture that made several delegates lean back instinctively. "You opened the gate to Earth when you came asking for help. That was your first mistake." She activated her personal holographic display, showing the timeline of events from 6 months prior, when the Kthavar overran the Andromeda sector and your invincible defense fleets were reduced to scrap metal drifting in space. You grew desperate. Desperate enough to lift the inhibitor satellites and send a message to what you thought was a backwater planet full of barely evolved primates. The image shifted to show Earth's response, not just from the United Nations, but from every major power, corporation, and organization on the planet. What you didn't understand is that humans don't just fight wars. We industrialize them. We turn entire civilizations into war machines. Within 72 hours of receiving your distress call, Earth had mobilized resources that made your greatest military expenditures look like pocket change. A delegate from the Hive Collective, her insectoid features twitching with confusion, interjected. "But the technological gap, our weapons, our shields, are faster than light travel. How did you overcome centuries of advancement?" "Simple," Riza replied, her expression darkening. "You had better technology. We had better soldiers. The hologram showed human forces moving through space, not in the elegant, energy-efficient formations favored by galactic military doctrine, but in massive, overwhelming waves that seemed to care nothing for casualties or resource expenditure. Ship after ship, each one bristling with weapons that shouldn't have been possible given Earth's technological level. You see," Riza continued, "while you were perfecting energy shields and plasma weapons, we were perfecting something far more dangerous, the art of war itself. Every human conflict, from our ancient battles with sticks and stones to our nuclear standoffs, taught us one fundamental truth. There is no such thing as excessive firepower when survival is at stake." The Veltar representative, a towering being of living metal, processed this information with visible distress. "But your casualties. The reports indicate you lost more ships in the first month than most species possess in their entire fleets." "And we built more," Riza said simply. "Do you know what Anna, one of our military strategists, said when she saw your casualty reports from the 200-year war against the Kthavar?" She laughed. Not because death amused her, but because in 2 centuries of fighting, your combined forces had suffered fewer losses than humanity experienced in single battles during our Second World War, a war we fought with primitive kinetic weapons and chemical explosives. The chamber erupted in alarmed chittering and electronic squealing as the implications sank in. "You didn't invite Earth to join your war," Riza continued over the noise. "You invited Earth to end it. And we did what humans do best. We adapted, we improvised, and we overwhelmed the enemy with sheer unrelenting violence." She gestured to another holographic display, showing the aftermath of human intervention. The Kthavar homeworld, once a thriving capital of a vast empire, now existed as a cautionary tale. Not destroyed, humanity had learned that martyrdom only creates more enemies, but so thoroughly defeated that surrender had been the only rational choice. The Kthavar were expecting to face the same careful, measured warfare they had grown accustomed to from galactic civilization. Instead, they encountered something that hadn't existed in this galaxy for millions of years. A species that wages war not as a political tool, but as an art form. a species that considers acceptable losses to be whatever it takes to win. The Zephyrian Prime Minister's light patterns had shifted to deep red, a sign of extreme distress among his people. But the cost, your own losses were astronomical. Wars are expensive, Riza acknowledged. But do you know what's more expensive? Losing them. Every human who died in that conflict knew they were fighting for something larger than themselves. Not for territory or resources or political advantage, but for the survival of everyone in this galaxy, including species that had kept us locked away like dangerous animals. She paused, letting the weight of her words settle over the assembly. You asked me here to explain human actions during the war. But I think what really concerns you isn't what we did to the Kthavar. It's what you learned about what we're capable of. You've realized that those inhibitor satellites weren't protecting the galaxy from humanity, they were protecting humanity from itself. The silence stretched. For long moments before Anna's voice came through Riza's communicator, a reminder that Earth's most brilliant military minds were always listening, always calculating. Ambassador, Anna's voice carried clearly through the chamber's acoustics. Inform the Council that Earth's war production has returned to peacetime levels. Our shipyards are now producing exploration vessels and trade ships instead of dreadnoughts. Riza smiled again, this time with genuine warmth. The galaxy can rest easy, honored delegates. Humanity has no interest in conquest, but remember this moment and remember it well. You opened the gate to Earth once. The choice of whether it stays open now rests with all of us. She turned to leave, then paused at the chamber's exit. Oh, and one more thing. The Kthavar survivors, they're applying for membership in the Terran Colonial Alliance. Apparently, they prefer our protection to our opposition. As the massive doors closed behind her, the Galactic Council was left to contemplate a universe forever changed by the day they had asked humanity for help. The galaxy was still counting the dead, but for the first time in 2 centuries, they were no longer counting their own.